Hello and good morning. It's Phil Thatch, and I am here at Moraine Lake in Banff, Alberta, Canada. And I'm being lit by the moon. You may be able to see the moon up there. That's all the light I have. It's actually blue hour right now as well. It's about 30 minutes before sunrise. And I have scrambled across all those fallen trees, which are laying on the creek that I guess goes out of this, or maybe it comes in. I'm not really even sure which way the water flows, but I had to scramble across those to get to this spot. I have my camera set up on this boulder, which is crazy. Keeping on working. So far, I'm the only person who's come this far, although there is one person who's trying to come this far right now, but it looks like he may get stopped at the woodpile. And he's still going. Let's see if he comes across. He's thinking about it. That was me, except for when I did it. It was absolutely dark. Yep, he's coming. He is coming. Good luck to you, dude. I made it. Surely you can too. He's still making his way across back there. He started to use his tripod as a walking pole, which I should have thought of. I may do that on the way back. The moon, which was kind of over here, is slowly moving its way out of my shot, so that's good. It's hard to focus on the moon and get the exposure right and these mountains, so I just assumed the moon not be there. Another photographer just came across, and I was really worried he was going to get in my foreground. He came past me. I've got this rock, a boulder, I guess, that's kind of in the bottom left of my shot. At first I didn't like it, but it's growing on me. Definitely have some pink going up there now. Kind of bright pink, and just over the mountain. Hopefully it comes across in the photos. I'm down to 5-second exposures now. Okay, this is the first shot from the morning there at Moraine Lake at the bottom of the rock pile that I liked enough to share with you. And this one is when we had just a brief moment where the clouds showed some pink. There were earlier in the day, before the clouds pinked up, where there was beautiful clouds that would have been great all along this area, but those ended up blowing back behind me, and there was just a little bit left, and they turned pink, and it turned out pretty nice. This is 17 millimeters, 5 seconds at f11. I'm not sure what filter I have on. I was switching around, early I had no filters on, and then I went to the 3-stop and then the 6 and maybe even the 10. I just had on whatever filter I needed to get a long enough exposure. But this is 5 seconds, so probably at the most the 3-stop on this one, maybe even no filter, probably the 3-stop, ISO 100. And you can see, just remember this little rock formation right here. And to the right of that is where Heather was sitting while I was working on these. And you can't see her in this particular shot. We're just starting to get some alpenglow. And I switched to the 6-stop filter. And now I'm back up to 30 seconds. Or maybe 25. I'm doing 25 and 30, trying to see which is best. But definitely starting to get some alpenglow on the peaks. The one dead in the middle and the ones over to the right have some alpenglow. Just a little. I've skewed my composition to the right, turned the camera to the right a little bit, which has more people in the foreground, unfortunately, on the right. But it's a more balanced composition with less of this mountain, which is the one we can see from our hotel room, and more of the background mountains. And the background mountains are balanced with these trees on the right-hand side. Now that the moon is moving out of the way, it makes that possible. Now it's just a little bit later, and I'm shooting at 15 seconds now, where the previous shot was 5 seconds, so probably a filter change has happened. This is 18 millimeters f11 ISO 100, and I've also turned my camera a little bit more to the right. So I have less of this mountain, which I don't think this particular mountain is very attractive, and I have more of these trees to kind of balance the shot out. There's still a little bit of pink left in the clouds, just a very little bit, but what separates this shot is the alpenglow, and that is pretty nice. But now that the camera's turned a little bit more to the right, you can see Miss Heather over here on this boulder waiting for me to get my photography done. And this shot and the previous shot and actually the next shot, all the shots from early this morning, there was almost no waves in the water. So the reflections of the mountains and the trees are excellent in these early shots. Some of my better shots don't have as much reflection, unfortunately. I didn't put it all together on this trip. I guess that's an excuse to go back someday. I was starting to get some really nice alpenglow on the mountains, and then the clouds back here are blocking the sun, so we're losing the alpenglow. Hopefully they'll move out of the way and I'll get some more in just a minute. Well, the two guys that came and joined me are leaving, but I'm staying hoping there'll be a little bit more alpenglow. Let's see what time it is. It is 7:38. It's only about 8 minutes after sunrise. I think if those clouds back there will clear, we may get some more. Maybe not. Now this shot is a little bit later in the morning. It's 5 seconds again, f11, ISO 100, and this is 25 millimeters, but now I've turned the camera vertical and I've made a multi-shot panorama. So we're seeing much further to the left in this shot than some of the previous ones, and much further to the right. We've got way more of this mountain. We've got the boulder here in the foreground, and we've got a laid over tree that I don't think is in any of the other shots. Great reflections in this. And over here on the right, you've got lots of people trying to work on photography, and way back here is sweet Miss Heather waiting patiently for me. I like the clouds in this shot and the reflections, as I mentioned before, and I like that you can kind of see through the water. You can see these trees below the water as well as this one sticking out of the water some. And way over here to the right, these are the Moraine Lake Lodge cabins. Matter of fact, this may be our room right here, or ours may be behind that tree. I'm not sure, but anyway, that's where we're staying, is in the Moraine Lake Lodge cabins. Actually, I think ours are further down. These are up the hill behind where ours is. Ours is closer to the water, but it's further down over here near the canoes. Anyway, it was great. I have a room tour from our cabin on my other channel, and I'll put a link to it somewhere. But this is the panorama, multi-shot panorama, and it's the last shot I shared from this morning. Okay, I have made it to the top of the rock pile and looked around in all the areas trying to find the composition that works the best. And down here in front of me, it's a little too low. The trees are too tall in the shot. And I'm on top of a boulder right now, and honestly I'm not sure I can get back down, but this is where the shot looks the best. And the shot I'm working on is 28 millimeters f11. I've got the 6-stop neutral density filter on, and I'm shooting, I think, gosh, I can't remember, 5 seconds. Now from up here, compared to where I did some shots earlier this morning, you're looking down at the lake and you can see the turquoise blue of the water. If you're down at water level, you really can't see the turquoise blue. You can when you're paddling around in a canoe, I've learned, but when you're at the side, you can't really see the turquoise blue. But from up here, you can really see it, and you can see the far right peak, which you can't see from down below. I also made a 30-second shot from here, 27 millimeters this time. I'm still kind of trying to get a feel for what's exactly perfect. With a 10-stop, 30 seconds with the 10-stop at f8, just because that's what works. The problem is I'm here at 6:40 in the evening, and because it's 6:40 in the evening, there's almost nobody here. But to get this shot just right, you need to do it at sunrise, and at sunrise it'll be crowded. And so I have to figure out how to scramble onto this rock again. First I have to figure out how to get down tonight, and then I have to figure out how to get back up here tomorrow morning. And I have to be the first one up here, because if somebody else is up here, I lose the shot, I guess. I don't know. Maybe people will try to fight and have more than one up here, but I don't know. I'm pretty wobbly. I wouldn't want another person up here with me. But that's my plan for tomorrow morning. Come back to the rock pile get the shot at sunrise. And it might be snowing, by the way. So says the forecast. We'll see. Now for this shot, I'm up on top of the rock pile, and at the top of the rock pile, I've climbed up on top of that boulder, which I've shown you in the video clips. And the reason I'm up on top of that boulder is because from the top of the rock pile, when you're not on the boulder, these trees, which I like these trees in the foreground, I don't have a problem with them at all, but when you're down lower and not on the boulder, these trees are higher than the mountains. And in my opinion, that kind of takes away from the shot. But when you're up on top of the boulder, these trees are below the mountains and it looks much, much better. So this is a 30-second shot at f8, 27 millimeters is all I needed. And what's really nice about up here is you can see this peak all the way over to the right that you can't see from the bottom of the mountain because there's trees blocking it. And the 30-second exposure, I was trying to smooth out the lake, which it did smooth out the lake, but the lake was so wavy that there's not any reflection. But at least you can see the beautiful turquoise blue water. I would like to have had this much blue and great reflection at the same time, but maybe I'll have to go back. So these clouds kind of almost look like plasma. When you have a lot of thick clouds and it's a 30-second exposure, they get a really interesting look to them. And I kind of like it sometimes, and then other times I look at it and go, man, I wish my exposure wasn't that long. So I don't know, but that's what I ended up with. I did have a 3.2 second shot that I liked as well. And the clouds still looked a lot like plasma in it, but I'm not sharing it because that particular shot had a really bright spot in the clouds over here in this area, and it's very distracting. These clouds, although they are kind of unusual looking and really neat looking, they are at least relatively even and not distracting. But really happy with this shot that I made. This is how I learned where to go for the best shot. I'm on the rock pile trail right now. I won't be able to show it to you tomorrow morning because it'll be too dark when I'm hiking in. It's only 250 meters, this trail. And it starts off easy enough, nice smooth trail, no problems at all. But right here is where the stairs begin. And there's 127 of them to get to the top up there. And by the time I got there a half an hour or so ago, I was very winded. So that's what I got to do tomorrow morning. There's a possibility it could do a little snowing, and it's going to be very dark. The good news is I was able to get down off that boulder with no problems, or little problems, but also I could see, so we'll see how that goes. This is the little stream that drains out of Lake Moraine, or Moraine Lake. I never can remember the order. Made it back down to the bottom now. That's the rock pile behind me. It's starting to rain just a little bit. And the mountains have a little bit of fog around the top of them, which is kind of cool looking. Kind of makes me wish I was still up there on the boulder getting one more shot with the mountains shrouded by just a little bit of fog. You can still see them, but they're not clear. It gives them kind of a eerie look. And because they're as high as the clouds, it shows you how tall they are. Well, it is tomorrow morning. It's about 10 or 15 after 6. I have to light the trail occasionally with my light that I'm lighting myself with. And there is basically nobody here. I think I'm here before the buses start running. And I've just made it to the stairs. So I'll see you at the top. Well, I made it to the top, and there's already 2 people standing on top of my boulder, which when I was on it last night, it felt like there was barely enough room for one. So I don't know if I can squeeze up there. That's my first problem. The second problem is the mountains are basically 100% socked in. There was forecast for snow, but it didn't snow. But it did rain off and on all night, and now the mountains are completely covered by clouds. So today may be a bust. I'm all the way back down from the rock pile now, and I've come over by the actual lake. Matter of fact, there is the edge of the lake. The trouble is the mountains are getting more and more socked in. the fog is not clearing. So I think it's going to be a bust today. The good news is I got that picture last night and some pictures yesterday morning. That's why we decided to stay here for 2 days, so we could make sure and get a shot in case the weather or the crowds messed us up. So it snowed for a while and the mountains were very fogged in. And now it's about 8 and the snow has stopped and the fog is cleared. And there's more snow on the mountains now. It didn't stick down here, but on the mountains it stuck. So I'm climbing the 127 stairs to try to get a picture. I made it. That's a tough climb. I made it to my boulder and nobody's on it. And look at that snow. Well, I'm up on my boulder again and I've caught my breath, as you can hear, because I was really rushing up here. I wanted to get here before somebody else got the boulder. And I'm still shooting the same composition as yesterday. It's 27 millimeters, f11, 6-stop neutral density filter is on the camera, and it's 3.2 seconds now. There's a lot more light. But man, this was definitely worth the climb back up the mountain. It was in a 2-second timer. I may switch and put the 10-stop on and get a longer exposure, because the lake is kind of ripply down there. Not sure about the reflections. And here it is, the best shot, or my favorite shot of the trip to Moraine Lake. This is at about 8 o'clock in the morning, even though really what I wanted to do was get a sunrise shot of the mountains from on top of my boulder, on top of the rock pile. But the mountains were completely fogged in, and then it snowed, and then I went back up and climbed those 127 stairs again and managed to get this shot. This is 27 millimeters, f11, 30 seconds, and ISO 100. And there is a little bit, the area here in the lake is pretty wavy, and so there's no reflection, but there is some reflection where the lake is kind of smooth in this area. So that's nice. But I would like to get a shot just like this with reflections this good all the way to the back. That would be really something. The clouds were moving quickly and they were really low, and as they dragged across this peak, it almost makes it look like this is a fireplace or a chimney and smoke's coming out of it, but that's just the way the clouds looked as they dragged across the top of this mountain. And you can see there's a cloud inversion going on as well. There's a little bit of fog in the valley here, and shortly after I made this shot, this fog got thicker and thicker, and then you couldn't see the mountains at all again. So there was probably only about a 10-minute window where there was snow on the mountains and there was no clouds blocking the mountains. So I'm really glad that I was able to catch this shot. I'm back down off my boulder now, and as you can see, the fog has returned and the mountains have completely disappeared, and I have a breakfast reservation with Heather in about 20 minutes. So I got to hustle down these stairs, get to that. But I appreciate you joining me for all these different shots of Moraine Lake and the mountains behind them. If you like this content, reach down and hit the thumbs up. That helps me a lot. And if you want to see some more stuff like this and wildlife and all sorts of photography content, subscribe and hit the bell. And as always, I hope to see you in my next video. Bye-bye. Lots of stairs. Lots and lots. Oh, my glasses. Bye.